now we're getting into 2013 Prisoners. Keller Dover, played by Hugh Jackman, his daughter and her friend go missing on Thanksgiving. He then takes matters into his own hands as the police pursue multiple leads and the pressure mounts. Obviously, Jake Gyllenhaal being the main detective, Loki. But just how far will this desperate father go to protect his family? So there's kidnapped daughters. Paul Dano also in this film. Great cast, honestly, from top to bottom. And Viola Davis, Terrence Howard, like really just an incredible cast. That, you know, this is kind of like his first. Cam would say differently, first like English language full feature.
Apparently not.
He really got all the stars out for it. He got just an incredible cast for the first one. And so 2013 thriller, very psychological as well at times. We'll start with Cam. Prisoners.
Sure. Prisoners is so fucking good, man. I loved Eddie. I've decided. Emma and I watched it maybe like a month ago at this point. And I made a video, like, this is one of Emma and I's favorite movies to watch together, or at least we like to watch it together. We've seen it together a couple times. I think that's the only times I've actually watched it, is with her, but so damn good, man. And every time you watch this, it's just like, God, this is awesome. Cause like I watch, you got to give yourself enough time in between to where like, you know, what's going to happen, you know, the story, but like, you don't know every intricate like detail of it. Because I'm like, oh shit, I forgot that. That's awesome. Like with the mazes and everything, and David Dashmount, like shooting himself, like just a crazy twist there. And I don't know, like Paul Dano just not actually being like the kidnapper. And I'm spoiling it, but again, it's a 2013 movie that like is one of the most popular movies of all time. So I'm sure not a big deal. But this is the all time like person wants a good thriller to watch and they're like just now getting into to film or something. This is the easiest recommendation. Like it's all time.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
This is the biggest mindfuck movie of all time. Like all time TikTok movie right here.
This was TikTok edits. This random like 2022 kind of era.
Hell yeah, man. It was
Hugh Jackman shouting at Paul Dano with the hammer.
Oh, with the hammer. Yeah.
Where's my daughter?
Yeah. Just so good, man. I don't even know what to say. Like, I just love this thing. Freaky Deaky gets so damn freaky in this. The shot of the little peephole on Paul Dano's face, where that's like cool. The only piece of light you see, is so good every time I watch it, man. And Hugh Jackman is just so great in this. I think Jake Gyllenhaal, like, this is a fine performance of his, but I don't think I think he blows me away in most performances. Though I will say, like, I don't think it's his best ever, but like, I think he's still really good in it. But Hugh Jackman for me just steals the show. Terrence Howard, you know, he what an interesting role for him. I feel like this is a very different role, playing a nice saxophonist, or what is it? what's he play? Some sort of
I think saxophone might be right.
Crazy all-time cast overlap with the Suicide Squad, as Tyler knows, and Sammy J Reacts found out. But just what a movie, man. I really like it. I really like it.
Yeah, Prisoners is one of those films that's just so foundational for me, like getting into movies. Like when this came out, I was so invested in it. I went home and I was reading stuff about it for hours, about the mazes and making all these connections. I was just one of those that just gave me so much to digest after a first watch. And then every time you rewatch it, you kind of get more things you pick up on it. But yeah, we'll talk about Enemy kind of next. But Prisoners and Enemy were like two that just came out at the same time that just got me so into film, and both by Denis and with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Year apart?
Same year, 2013.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Which, interestingly enough, Enemy was actually like produced before Prisoners, but Prisoners came out first. But yeah, George, thoughts on Prisoners?
Everything Cam said. This is one of my favorite psychological thrillers out there. Yeah. Just like you said, Tyler, this is like, it's such an instrumental movie in like my film going career, where it just kind of like turned me on to like these psychological thrillers. It turned me on to Denis, who I fucking love, obviously. Double acting nomination snub in my mind. I think both of them deserve the nomination. And looking back at 2013, I think Leo in Wolf of Wall Street is the only performance I would take over Hugh Jackman in Prisoners. I think this movie absolutely fucks. It is this movie in like most filmmakers' filmographies is a crazy psychological thriller risk, but like in Denis' filmography, it's like his most conventional project. It feels like his most like accessible film when you look at like the rest of his filmography together. But yeah, I love Prisoners. I've seen it countless times, and it just fucking blows me away and destroys me every single time. Credit to the acting, to the directing, to Daddy Deakins, obviously. I love Prisoners.
Seth.
Yeah, I'm definitely lower on it, but I think it's great. I know what you mean. I think it's like it's not his, it's not accessible by any means, but it's because it is a puzzling film. But I think at the same time, it's like you don't really meet people who don't like Prisoners in a way that it's just very thrilling. It's a turbulent, spine-tingling thriller. I think I said in my review because it's just anxiety-inducing. I think the cast is all there. It's great. You've got Deakins on his absolute A game as he usually is. And it's just a good exploration of trauma as well and kind of what that goes into. And I think, can remind me, what's Jake Gyllenhaal's character called?
Loki. Yeah.
MCU reference?
MCU reference?
Could be.
I think his card's like really interesting introspective, really interesting study. I didn't like this as much as I did when I was younger.
I think this is his most accessible, not his most accessible, like the most accessible thriller.
I think this is Denis' most accessible film too. I would say that.
I think it's definitely I'd probably go Sicario.
I think Sicario.
Those are the two for sure. Those are the two.
Yeah. But I think that you're not wrong. I think Prisoners, whilst I don't think we should say it is most accessible, but it is still like it's puzzling, it's intricate, it's sure challenging in a way that you kind of can't grasp everything, which I think Cam alluded to. But it also is that kind of conventional style thriller that it is just going to please most people because it works on every front that it wants to. It is thought-provoking, but it's also challenging and it's thrilling. You've got Deakins, who I said is on his A game, like completely, and you've got a cast who, that are just full of faces who fit the roles just so perfectly in every way. The only thing I don't love, I guess, about Prisoners, because I do really like it, is I don't really love the ending, to be honest. I don't think it's that great. But that's just me. And I think I know you do, Cameron. That's fine.
Like it.
Yeah, I don't love the reveal. But the same thing. I people get very upset in my review, and it's like, what are we talking about? It's a 4-star, man. It's crazy.
Should be higher. You hated it. You hated it.
But yeah, really, really good. Really liked it. Not as much as I did when I was younger, but I think that's granted. It was the same thing that happened to me when I rewatched like Seven, for example. When I was younger, I loved Seven. Rewatched it, and I was like, it's great, but I don't have that same desire to watch it over and over again like I did when I first watched it. But yeah, really, really good film. Nothing really else to say.
Prisoners greater than Seven, though. It definitely for me.
I would
pick
Prisoners over Seven.
Yeah, it's aged better for me. But Prisoners, I love watching movies and then showing people movies, especially movies like this, where it's like you just kind of want to watch them go through the processes when they haven't seen it before. And I mentioned before on the pod, like when I showed it to my mom, I was so pissed because she, like right away when she first saw the woman, she's like, oh, I bet it's her who kidnaps all the kids and orchestrates this whole thing. I was like, I'm just gonna turn this movie off. Screw you. Like, why do you have to do that? But yeah, like I love showing my friends.
She liked it
all time.
Yeah, I think it's hard for people to not like Prisoners.
It is, isn't it? It's whatever I've recommended people.
I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick, while we were talking about watching with parents, all-time Brad Walsh quote. We watched this with my dad for the first time. He told me he wouldn't do this for me. he goes, I'd let the cops handle it, Cam. I was like, all right, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Brad Walsh backs the blue. He trusts them. He's like, they'll do their thing.
Cops will take care of it. Great.
But yeah, it's kind of just like how far will the father go to protect his family? Hugh Jackman farther than Cam's father, it sounds like. But yeah, I love this movie. I love watching people go through it for the first time. I love rewatching it as well. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'll probably always stay that way. Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman, just incredible performances. Hugh Jackman has such range, and he's so good in this. But really everyone, even the supporting characters, like Paul Dano, just brilliantly weird in this movie and creepy. And, like the scene with it walking his dog outside, just horrifying, singing Jingle Bells.
Hugh Jackman better in this than he is in Logan.
You've never seen Logan.
Yeah, but still.
I disagree. Well, I don't know.
Fair
Hugh
enough.
Jackman's so good. And I think my favorite tweets about Hugh Jackman are the ones that are like, Hugh Jackman just so badly wants to be some musical guy on stage.
Mhm.
But Marvel keeps ripping him back in to get ripped. But he also does movies like this. But yeah, he does just want to be a nice, like, stagehand music guy.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely a theater kid at heart. He would love nothing more than just to make Les Miserables, Greatest Showman.
His
those kind of
only
movies
bad
for someone.
performances in it was like 2 years ago.
Oh, it's that sci-fi film.
Yeah,
I know
it
what you
sucks,
Reminiscence.
Reminiscence.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
bad,
yeah.
man. That's
That's
his
really
only
bad,
bad
really bad.
performance. IMO.
Yeah.
But
What
after
about the song?
Prisoners, same exact year, that links up with Enemy. So Enemy, initially Christian Bale was attached to be the lead role, but had to drop out due to scheduling
really?
conflicts. Then Jake Gyllenhaal, which, like I said, Enemy was produced before Prisoners. So I don't know if it was like Prisoners with Enemy or Jake Gyllenhaal with Enemy, and then Denis like, yeah, you're great. I'm going to bring you into Prisoners. Or if he was already attached to Prisoners, then Christian Bale fell out, and he's like, I already got Jake Gyllenhaal on these sets and in these production meetings. Let's get him on this movie as well. But you get 2 Jake Gyllenhaal performances in this movie because Enemy is the story of a man seeking out his exact lookalike after spotting him in a movie. Talking about Prisoners being maybe one of his most accessible films in terms of English language ones, I think Enemy is for sure the least accessible. And I'd say maybe, in general, it's one of his least accessible films. One of them that, someone could turn on and just absolutely hate. It's definitely, there's a lot more that it makes
It's a
it
slow burn. It's a slow burn. I think so.
I would say, because I just rewatched it. I'd say even though it's 90 minutes, I'd still say it's a slow burn. But
I mean, yeah, you can make a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, for
a
sure.
Slow burn. I feel like.
Yeah, but and the production is super tight on this movie in terms of like, the screenwriting is where it's kind of in its the masterpiece is in the writing of this movie, but the actual production, like you could easily see this being filmed and put together, very quickly. There's obviously some visual effects stuff they had to do, but in terms of filming this movie with the actors on set, probably could have done it quite quick. But Enemy, let's see, we'll start with Seth on this one. Enemy, what's your thoughts?
I think Enemy was the first Disney I ever watched, weirdly. When I was like, how old? When did I come out? Like 2013?
Yep.
Like 14, 15, whatever. I think that Enemy is maybe one of Denis' most interesting films. I don't mean best. I mean interesting to have a conversation about because there's so much to it. I also think this is one of Jake Gyllenhaal's best performances. I think it's so good how he captures kind of the nuances between each character and there's like these subtle differences. A lot of complaints about Enemy are kind of the brown hue. It's all very dusty and looking. I like that. I think it works perfectly within this kind of context of the film. I haven't seen this for a while. I do need to rewatch it, to be honest. But I think what I remember is just a really interesting kind of exploration of human nature, of the differences between them, of the doppelgangers. And I think it kind of has a lot of thrilling elements, has a lot of heartfelt elements as well. Like I said previously, I think Jake Gyllenhaal, he is so, so good in this. Like I really might be his best for me, just because of how he captures the differences between the two characters, especially when they're on the same scene. It's one that, like Tyler said, I think it is, maybe his least accessible, other than Maelstrom, probably. And I think it works. Not everything works. I think a few bits flew over my head, but that being said, I haven't seen it in probably about a year now, maybe a little bit longer. And I've only seen it twice because I watched it way ago when it came out, whatever. I think the spider stuff is really interesting as well. Like really, really interesting. The spider stuff. It's just a really unique thing. Is like this might be way off, but it's like representing like commitment. Female commitment is kind of the one that people drive the most, and like fear in general, which obviously spiders representing quite a lot of films. But yeah, I need to rewatch it because I do find it really interesting. And I remember watching it, just be like, what the fuck? And I watched it again. And I was like, okay, a little bit's adding up, but still, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Really good. Yeah, really, really good. Need to watch it again. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is like the man in this. I think this is like his bag,
Yeah, I love Enemy. And Jake Gyllenhaal, like you said, both his performances, because he's given 2, are so good in this. And, you get this quirky college professor who lives in kind of a empty apartment, doesn't really have a strong relationship. I mean, he's seeing a woman, but you don't really get a gauge. Are they just like a fling that hooks up? Are they dating, girlfriend?
Yeah.
Like, they're not super connected. But just he's so good, and just being kind of like this weird guy, odd guy, just watches a movie and he becomes so obsessed with seeing this guy who looks exactly like him. And then you have the other Jake Gyllenhaal, which is the actor in that movie that he sees as just kind of a background guy who has his life more put together in the sense of having a nice apartment, a lot nicer than the other Jake Gyllenhaal. And he's an actor, but at the end of the day, also he's like been like an extra in 3 movies, and like extra is like a stretch. He's not even really a credited actor.
Yeah.
So he's not really a flourishing actor. but he's got the motorcycle, the cool leather jackets, this nicely styled hair, kind of
Nice
everything
apartment.
that the other one, yeah, nice apartment, everything the other Professor Jake Gyllenhaal isn't. And you see these two men that just become obsessed over the fact that they're, mirror images of each other. They're the same scar. And then obviously kind of getting like the big twist that, they're the same guy. And the movie is kind of circular in the sense that the ending of the movie can almost lead right into the beginning of the movie. And it's like, when does the actual movie end? Like the start and the end of the movie might not necessarily be what the start and the end of the actual, like, minute 0 and hour 30. And the spiders, crazy imagery. Yeah, it's a very yellow film, but yeah, just such a bizarre film. I love it so much. This is the first time I rewatched it in like 10 years, like I said, and I still love it just as much. And I think Jake Gyllenhaal is just really on his A game here. So much mystique in the thrill of this movie with, when the pregnant woman that's married to the suave acting Jake Gyllenhaal kind of goes and meets the professor version, gives him a call on his phone after talking with him on the park bench, and then you don't see him pick up that phone until he gets right behind a wall, and you're like, oh fuck, like is this the same guy? Is this not? And then you get the car accident. Like this movie, Prisoners, is a thriller that has so many layers to it, but kind of spoon feeds you a lot of answers. There's still a lot of don't get me wrong. First time I watched Prisoners, I did not catch everything, but Enemy is definitely one that you're going to finish and be like, what the fuck? Like there's a lot I have to unpack here.
Well, I think it's interesting because like you said, there's so much to unpack, but I think it's for a 90-minute film, it's pretty impressive to have that much in and not feel like stuffed to the brim, because I don't think it does. I think it fits really well. And 90 minutes is pretty short, to have everything in that it does throughout the whole runtime.
Yeah, and kind of like I mentioned when I was preluding this, it's the production of it's pretty simplistic at the end of the day. Like there's a couple visual effects shots, there's a car accident, but at the end of the day, like they're not anything groundbreaking. So I really think like the screenwriting, writing this film is where a lot of the master maze and puzzle of putting this complex film and idea with all these layers and so much to unpack comes together. And then when you actually kind of put it to film, wasn't a whole lot that had to be going down. A lot of it's just conversations between characters, but yeah, I love Enemy. George, your thoughts?
I love Enemy too. I think you just did a really good job of breaking it down, so I won't go too into it. This is kind of like, people always ask me like who my favorite filmmakers are, and Denis and Nolan are top 2, maybe top 3 if I squeeze Spielberg in there. But it's mostly because of their similarities. And Enemy feels like something straight out of like a Nolan early day. Like I feel like you could throw it right in the middle of his filmography between The Prestige, between Memento and Following, and it would just flow so seamlessly with what Nolan was doing back in the day. I think to Tyler's point, you said like I could rewatch Prisoners as many times and I'll still pick up on something new. I don't think there's one person in the world that finishes one Denis film and picks up everything. His films are so layered, it's fucking crazy. And Enemy is just, with its circular timeline, with its dual characters, and kind of this I don't even know how to describe it, this unrelenting psychological fuckfest that he's kind of taking you on. There's just so much to appreciate here within within like just the direction that Denis takes you, the screenplay. This run for me of Prisoners and Enemy, kind of it makes me appreciate Incendie a lot more as like this career changing moment in Denis' filmography, because he kind of goes from obviously the foreign language films, not A-list actors, but more than capable actors, to a Prisoners, which has become obviously one of the most, just respected films out there, with 2 of the most prolific actors at the time, even though they're still prolific. It's just crazy that he goes from something like Incendie to something like Prisoners and Enemy, to just becoming this incredibly well-respected filmmaker globally. But yeah, I love Enemy. It's definitely one of the Denis that I need to revisit. I think I've probably revisited it the least outside of his like pre-2009 stuff, that and Sicario. So I definitely want to revisit it. But yeah, I love it. I love it. This is just kind of, like I said, there's so much overlap and similarities between Denis and Nolan within their entire career. But Enemy is kind of where I think they like really cross paths.
He didn't write Enemy, did he? I don't think. Did he write Enemy? I don't think he did.
So.
Okay. When did he? No, he didn't write Enemy. Yeah.
No, Javier Coulon wrote Enemy.
Nice.
Cam?
Enemy, very good. Sorry, I just got back. Big fan of Enemy. And Enemy's like well, actually, never mind. Don't know where it is in my rankings. Could be anywhere. But yeah, I love Enemy, man. And like you guys said, this one of Jake Gyllenhaal's best. Nightcrawler being his best, obviously. Come on.
No.
You don't think so? Oh, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah, man, obviously. What
Yeah,
are we talking
perfect.
about? No,
You're
what's it
forgetting
called?
Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
No, what's it called? The fucking Michael Bay one from 2 years ago. Shit.
Oh,
Ambulance.
Ambulance.
Ambulance. There we
You
go.
look, he cooks in that movie, but that
He
movie
actually
is
does
not
cook
as
as
good
well.
as anyone says. I'm so anti that movie now. No, I really like Enemy. And nothing you guys haven't said. Fantastic, like showcasing like what you can have a better life. Is it a better life? All that jazz. But again, I think this is the second time I'm shouting him out. But Sam and Jay, shout out him. Hating yourself. I read his review and I thought it was funny. Hating yourself for an hour and 30 minutes. Rookie numbers. Yeah, facts. Hate myself a whole lot more than that. But no, very good movie. Shout out Denny. But you guys said everything. I just took my dog out. So
Yeah. Sammy's a funny dude. Go ahead.
The more I have like Denis' letterbox page open, just looking at his filmography. The more I stare at like this collection of films, the more
Well,
I'm convinced that
I
he's
just
the
made
greatest
my list.
ever do.
Stop glazing, George. Shut
Yeah,
up.
I'm gonna glaze this man endlessly. Just
Oh,
looking
God,
at
I
this
can't
collection
do
of
this.
movies, this might be the greatest filmmaker of all
Tyler,
time.
could we have done this episode last week when like George wasn't here, please? Thank you.
I just made my list though, George, and I was like, "Wow, I like that movie. Wow, I like that movie.
It's
Wow,
fucking
I like that
impossible to
movie
rank
for
this
every single one." Yeah, can't wait.
Of all, sorry, we're kind of sidetracking. Of all of like my 5-star films, he's got the second most 5-star films from any filmmaker.
I'm
It's a
shocked
shame
there's
Nolan.
anyone
It's a shame
more.
Nolan's better. Nolan's better.
He and Nolan are actually tied for 2.
Who's won? Spielberg?
Spielberg.
Do you like Nolan? Do you
Yeah,
think you
that's
like Nolan more, George, or Denis?
Dude,
So
I don't
I'm
know.
definitely probably more Nolan.
I think
I like
I definitely lean more Nolan right now, but I think as Denis' filmography kind of unfolds and as he wraps up this Dune trilogy,
2.
as he continues to expand,
Dune
with
2 might
his,
be the best movie ever,
Op-
according
yeah,
to
Dune's
Oppenheimer
definitely
really, like Oppenheimer really threw Nolan just.
yeah, Oppenheimer
in
definitely
that
elevated
phase.
Nolan to heights I didn't think he would go. Just because obviously I was excited for Oppenheimer, but I was unsure if he could pull off a biopic. I really was. But now he's kind of just proving that he could do whatever the fuck he wants and he'll be good at it.
Until he makes a shit horror film, which he's going to do.
Obviously, he should. make
Horror's
one.
going to be the tackle. That's going to be the one to end him. I'm telling you.